Well, where am I? I'm on the wrong camera, I think. You're very welcome to MOTH Live. My name is Keith Walsh. I'm not in the studio today. Um, so I just couldn't make it down. We had some interviews to do and they ran over, but it's all worth it. It's all good. So later on, I'm going to be talking to Al about 3:30, about half, well, maybe a bit later. We're running a little bit late. So Jeffrey Leo, friend of the show, is heading for cross-examination. MOTH News broke this story weeks ago. We've been looking at it, and now the mainstream media are catching up. But Charlie Taylor, who is a friend of the show, of the Sunday Business Post, still hasn't corrected his past glowing coverage of Leo or acknowledged the impact on Altada's founders. So we will speak to Al at 3:30. So basically, just to give you a rundown of what's happened, is this guy who runs Dundrum House, which is an iPass center. He also has he got involved in this company, this Irish company Altada. He took it down from the inside. It looked like he got away with it, but we started talking about it and then people started looking into it. So he collapsed Altada. Our friend Al is one of the founders, him and his wife. And basically, the Sunday Business Post published photos of Al, his wife, details about their children's school, even ran headlines without ever showing a single image of this guy, Jeffrey Leo, the investor at the center of the fraud allegations now as they are. And it really affected Al and his family. This journalist, Charlie Taylor, his reporting on Altada seemed to position the founder, Al and Neve, as sort of the face of failure. Meanwhile, Leo, who is now, it turns out, was behind a massive fraud. He played a major role in the company's financial unraveling, was portrayed as a serious investor, even a potential savior. Even though he'd come from America and was barred from doing business in America, we still gave him the keys to the castle, as it were, Dundrum Castle. So we're going to look at editorial imbalance and why, this type of journalism just, it's not acceptable anymore. And also Tom Lyons, who writes for another publication, he has since been reporting on what's happened to Jeff Leo, but he hasn't been, apologizing or anything for what he had said before and how Al and his wife, the founders of the company, were treated. So anyway, that's to come. Also, I spoke to Majella Beattie. That was this morning as well. Very busy morning here on MOTH News. Following a recent conversation with solicitor Kiva Haughey about Caitlin Hassan. I don't know if you know the Caitlin Hassan case. If you don't, do go back and look at that. We decided to turn the spotlight on the crisis in nursing homes and care facilities. So earlier on today, I spoke to Majella. She's the founder of Care Champions, which is a family-led advocacy organization that has supported over 10,000 families seeking justice and answers after harm occurred in nursing and care homes. And that's coming right from when they were set up around COVID-19. And people are looking at this organization and say, well, COVID's over now, we moved on, blah, blah, blah. But actually, nothing from COVID was learned. Care homes are still being allowed to operate without any oversight. If you watch the interview, it's there. It'll be available. The full interview will be available on our YouTube channel straight after this show. But if you watch it, Ireland have no oversight over care homes. They can't go in there. There's like you have HICWA, but they're over policy. Nobody can go in there and see how it's being run. People are just left in a care home, and you have stories of people not being turned. People like during COVID, there was people who died, and nobody knew who had died or what their name was, or it wasn't necessarily that it was the staff's problem. It was just that the people who own these care homes, and obviously our government as well, are complicit because there's no oversight. They're not being held to account, and they're not being staffed properly. The staff aren't being paid properly. There's loads and loads of problems. But literally, it's just watch the interview later. It is available on our YouTube straight after the show. I'll just play this clip of me chatting to Majella earlier.
Concerns around abuse or neglect, or it could be simple things where their loved one would come to a window and they'd notice they'd lost a lot of weight, or they didn't have their teeth in, or they had somebody else's clothes on, to seeing bruising or injury or or they've been told by their loved one that they'd experienced sexual harm. So when these things started to occur, we automatically went to what we thought was the complaint system that should be there. So what we found was that HICWA doesn't deal with individual concerns. Then we went to the Office of the Confidential Recipient. So that's your service, your say, and they only deal with HSE complaints. We went to the adult safeguarding teams, but they don't have a legal right of entry into a private facility. So we would ring the safeguarding, like social workers are the lead experts in investigating safeguarding concerns. So we would ring them and say, this has happened, or I'm concerned about this. And they would say, unfortunately, I'll have to ring and ask permission, and they have a right to refuse me entry. So we were getting nowhere. So when things went wrong, there was absolutely nowhere to go. So, and unfortunately, that remains the same. There is no fit for purpose complaint system. So when we found that we had individuals coming forward for somebody had experienced sexual abuse, and when it would come to going to the guards, for example, we found that the guards lacked communication skills.
So we spoke to Caitlin Hassan's solicitor the last day, and she was saying the same thing. They were being blocked. The government have to stop trying to block people who are trying to get justice. We're looking at everything as like these isolated cases, like the mother and baby homes, like even going back to Stardust or whatever you want, but all of these things, and we say, oh, that's an isolated case. The care homes during COVID, that's an isolated case. Mother baby homes, that's an isolated case. There's no. Let's join these up. This is how we treat our people. This is how we treat people in Ireland. And a country can only be measured on how we treat the weakest. And that's why we are where we are today. And if you think that, joining a march in Dublin because somebody moved here from a different country is going to help in any way, I can tell you this: the only thing you're doing is helping the government to not face up to its responsibilities, to not be answerable to these families who had loved ones, mothers, brothers, sisters, elderly, disabled, left in care homes to die, left in care homes to be abused. And now the government and you're marching to say that somebody from another country moving into our country is the problem. You are a useful idiot for the government. It's a great distraction for them, because we need to call them out on what they're not dealing with. We don't have enough carpet in this country to keep brushing things under the carpet. Enough is enough. The things that the families have noticed and have spoken to care champions about Majella about it will shock you. I mean, I'm talking people being discovered with maggots on their skin. It's horrendous, and I believe that a couple of ministers and also a Taoiseach described the families of these people who are looking for justice. The minister described it as a witch hunt, which is absolutely disgusting. They just want justice. They just want to be listened to. And the thing is that nothing has changed. Yeah, you can listen to the rest of that interview on our YouTube when this show is over. Our YouTube channel. It's at @moth_news. Please do. Now, a slight turn, left turn, right turn, change of scene, change of mood, hopefully. And we're going to talk to this person. This is Roche. She's over in Brighton, and she joins us in a Brighton studio to chat to us. Have a look at this. Roche is a musician from Fermanagh and a wonderful singer as well. And she's bringing back some of the old traditions, but in a new way. Have a look at this. So that's Roshan. As you can see, she wears, I suppose you call it a mask. Would you call it a mask, Rosh?
A bit of an owl covering.
But
It's
an owl
anonymous.
covering. You like to keep it stay anonymous, so you're not on camera at the moment, which is absolutely fine. You're in Brighton. You're over for is it a showcase part of the Great Escape Festival week?
Yeah, it's there's about 1,000 different bands playing, loads of different venues in Brighton, and it's kind of a way for people to meet people and schmooze and all that there.
Do a bit of schmoozing. Sure, no better woman. Have you enjoyed Brighton so far?
Brighton's a lovely city. Yeah, I've never been. Geez, I was just saying there, I've never seen so many people my age in one spot. I think Fermanagh is all just like geriatrics and farmers. Great. I love that, but it's nice.
Yeah.
Like-minded people about the place.
You want a bit of a mix of you want some geriatrics, some farmers, and some
Yeah, keep the whole thing
cool people as well. Tell us a little bit about your music, because from what I've read and what I listened to, and obviously looking at that clip as well, there's a bit of keening going on. There's sort of like an old Irish tradition of music, and I'm not saying traditional music, but an older sort of many people would know the term keening, which is, I suppose, it would be associated with funerals. That's where most people would know it from. Tell us a bit about why you're into this type of music, why you got into it, and you've made it quite modern. Like what's going on there, Rosh?
I know it's a bit different, isn't it? It's a bit modern.
It's great.
I listened to the first keening song by Kitty Gallagher from Gweedore back about a year ago or 2 years ago, and just decided to put my own kind of spin in it, chords and stuff. And the one you just heard there was another keen from a woman who we don't know her name, from the Aran Islands. And I just remember hearing it and I just listened to it maybe 4 or 5 times and just was completely entranced. And then did a bit of research on it and realized that this was a really normal and thriving, very common tradition at wakes, where pre-Christian times, people, like women, would have been employed to mourn and keen at the side of the coffin, like continuously, and taking turns between women in the village and learning all sorts of stuff, where they used to go bare feet and tear out their hair and get really cathartic with it. And there was stories of, I actually did lots of research and listened to the UCC professor on it, Marion Caulfield, did extensive research where she was saying how the women used to use it as a call to arms. If there was like a landlord taking too much of what he was supposed to, she would keen for that family who were evicted, and using it as a mode of resistance, and which I found really interesting. And then it was just abolished by the priests. The priests came and rode on their horses and shunned the keeners away. And you were said, I think, I can't remember exactly, but the penance was quite severe if you were seen to be keening at the wake. And then it's just I think Irish people, I think from colonization, probably, I don't know if it's a psychological theory where they got used to this sort of suppression and then looked to the Catholic Church for some sort of stability, and then everybody just became brainwashed, and obviously the keening just completely was abolished. So there's only 3 recordings left of the keeners, and different people have been researching it and have said that we've no idea what they would have sounded like. It would have been probably very experimental sounding to us, very guttural, and the 2 ones that I have in the last album there are kind of kind of nice lyrically sounding. There's one by I think her name's Maggie something from the Aran Islands,
and it's completely like guttural, like really ugly sound. Like if you imagine a wailing, it isn't a nice sound. So obviously there's just been this kind of obsession with, or a look towards order with Christianization of Ireland, and it's it's seen as really ugly and feminine, whatever you want to call it.
Can't have ladies, lovely ladies, making noises like that.
No.
It wouldn't do. Do you think that Ireland is in a place then that we need? I mean, there has been a lot of, and I see it from the younger generation as well, gladly, that we are returning to some of the old ways and shunning some of the new ways and shunning some of the beliefs that we maybe, as you say, brainwashed. We're looking at the things that we believe and thought were right for us. I mean, I feel like a lot of the way we're going as a country, I mean, if you think about the, when we started getting some money, the Catholic Church obviously have been here a long time. We're not really, I don't think we're built to be a capitalist society. I think we're more, we should be, and we are naturally more attuned to the earth and nature. I think we've gotten away from that. But a lot of things have happened to us. Do you think that we are, obviously we're starting to look at these things, and there's a need to go back to the old ways maybe?
Yeah, like a necessity for sure. Like this resurgence in this kind of pagan, like the etymology of it is just country. Like it's just this country way of life. And in my sets now, I'm looking at different traditions we used to have, like the cursing. Like we have a really rich way of cursing people who are bad to us in the village, like maybe badly positioned on a windy day and all these kind of so I have a song like that, and then like my dad's a farmer, and he has different like cattle calls. I'm sure if you know anyone in the countryside, and he goes like suck 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 suck, or chick.
Oh, suck. Yeah.
So, and I use that and everything, and just going back to, because I think it's just we're starting to gain some sort of confidence with it's like 30 years after the conflict in the north as well, and we're starting to because I think like as an artist you have to know yourself very well, and to do that you kind of have to look at where you came from. And I came from like a traditional Irish music background, the GAA and all that shite as well, for my sins. But gaining confidence. Like I remember you're talking about the sort of begrudging side of things at the minute, which is really scary. But I remember something Martin McGuinness said was really stuck with me. He was like, I don't begrudge another culture because I'm so confident in my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that we're starting to see now. Like looking back at different traditions, you have Lankum there and John Francis Flynn, and I started to look into different accounts of the wake. So in my sets it takes place inside a wake. I have like sandwiches at the back and stuff like that, and there used to be accounts of just debauchery in the wakes, wake games and passing the tobacco around, and loads of matchmaking. So
Finnegan's Wake, of course, a great song that sort of like will tell you all you need to know about a good wake.
I actually need to do we cover that now. Am I allowed to say the word?
Say whatever you want.
Riding. Am I allowed to say that?
Riding, yeah.
Riding.
Riding.
Yeah, riding.
So, there's all sorts going on at a wake: riding, drinking, passing the tobacco,
there was loads of that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to look at that.
Are you bringing riding back? Is that what you're saying?
I actually am. Yeah. We had a bit of an Irish spell of the old. Anyway, sure.
Of being a bit too. We lost touch with our sexuality. I mean, with our expressing ourselves and being ashamed. The shame, I think, is
the shame is definitely definitely loosening up with us. Like, I know all of my friends' parents just have this kind of very shameful and it's kind of fear of being vulnerable, and I think vulnerability shouldn't be so shunned and
we shouldn't worry about being vulnerable and showing emotion. And I think, especially, we look at mental health issues, and it all comes back to just being allowed to be yourself and express yourself in whatever way you want to express yourself, and vulnerability is a huge part of that. So with the recent, I have to ask you about the kneecap controversy, them having something to say about Palestine, and they've been there saying those things right from the start, long time before this most recent attack, a sustained attack on Palestine and Gaza from Israel. Obviously it's been ongoing, but the more devastating one. How do you feel about what they said, and musicians, and the reaction to it? Like, we didn't really react very well. Official Ireland didn't react terribly well to it. I feel like we reacted with. I'd be ashamed of how we reacted.
Oh, it's fucking sorry for cursing.
No,
but
you're okay. You're okay.
it's really disgraceful. It's all just complete distraction. Like, the likes of these celebrities that have so much power and influence, speaking out and just being completely brainwashed as well. It's really upsetting to see, but it's great to see the likes of bigger artists like Kneecap and Fontaines, and I can't remember the other few.
Murder Capital actually play a few gigs over in Germany as well, which is great. And then you got all those artists signing that petition. Everybody from Paul Weller, a lot of UK artists, Paul Weller.
Yeah, it was really, 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 really great to see. But this is it. Like, as long as people still stand by it and not weaken up with the likes of labels. Like, hopefully labels are still able to back them and not get too industrialized. I know, like, the likes of Sony and what's the other ones? Warner. What's the other one? Forget.
Universal, Warner.
Universal, yeah.
Some of the bigger ones. Yeah, they'd be more skittish about stuff like that, because I suppose that.
Word. But the independent labels seem to be still supportive, and which is just brilliant. It's always been on the right side of history is the most important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, really good to see young people speaking out, and I suppose it's apt that you're bringing back keening. Like, do you feel like as a young person, when you're up there, even though you're performing maybe all keens from women who lived a long time ago on islands, probably never left those islands, but what do you feel inside you when you're keening? What are you, I suppose, speaking about or keening about?
It depends. Whatever just comes into my head. I don't like to force it. Like my drummer there, Josh, also a massive activist, and if we ever be talking about something that's going on, which is most of the time, that'll just come into my head. Or actually, the reason why I got into keening was I seen Marion Caulfield research, and it was at an ecological grief kind of conference, and I know a lot of people find comfort in the keen in that way. There's been a few workshops and different things, and I'd be very connected to that whole thing
idea.
Just
as a sort of as a type of, I suppose we might call it therapy, but something that is physical that you can do that makes you feel better. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like the catharsis of that's what I'm just trying to do all the time is like. Yeah, my musical output has always just been to make big, loud sounds and scream, and the whole keening catharsis, big soundscapey thing is just like it all came to align with that, because it's just how I enjoy express myself, just in that big cathartic way.
Yeah, I think it's great because it seems to fit that. I suppose maybe you might think. A lot of artists think that music kind of is given to them, and there's some sort of vessel, but it seems about right that a young person like yourself has, for some reason been drawn towards keening and decided to make this album, and it just seems about the right time, and maybe more Irish people will pay attention to that. I suppose that's the hope, isn't it?
Yeah, we're always, unfortunately, Ireland's always, I don't know, I see a lot of
Shame. We're going to use the word shame again.
Yeah, shame, and then just like looking to other cultures to do our own thing on what they've done. And I think we just need to start, looking inwards, and just believing in the magic of all the things we've lost. The language, even just itself alone, so much richness in it, so much. I've only scratched the surface. I feel like just with so many, even the crafts of Ireland, like is so rich, and yeah, because it is an indigenous thing, like.
It is, yeah, you're starting a whole new movement. I mean, I was on the Aran Island. I go a bit, but I was there recently, and it's like a living, breathing museum because it was pretty much unaffected by, Viking attacks or the famine or whatever. So you've got like, every time you turn the corner, there's another church. There's one clump of 7 churches in one area, but it's like a living, breathing museum. Everything just kind of like, almost like the Mary Celeste. It's just everybody left, and it's still there. It's a beautiful place, but it has you feel an energy there.
Yeah, even with the stone throwing festival now, I think they've brought that back and different things. It's like 100 years, 200 years, it was gone, and now it's back.
Yeah, well, look, the soon they start bringing druids back, I'll be happy then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd happily go and speak to a druid on a Sunday morning for half an hour.
Maybe you're one yourself with the headphones on you. You're speaking truth now. Yeah, I think Drew is oak, and then Vid is knowledge. So it's just like like a person.
I'm like an old oak with a bit of wisdom. Yeah, could be something I might look getting into that. Thanks very much. Definitely glad I spoke to you today. Now, listen, it's just for anybody who's interested. Where can they? I presume they can just your music is on. Do you promote Spotify or RÓIS Music is probably a good place to go.
And then RÓIS Music. Yeah.
So go to Bandcamp, pay for your music. RÓIS Music as well. Have you more gigs coming up that you'd like to tell people about?
Bristol Cube on the 12th of June.
Yeah.
Is this mostly Irish or English?
Yeah, Ireland, please.
But
people can find them on RÓIS Music, I presume.
Yeah, on the Instagram. Sure, I don't know.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Why should you? You're too busy.
That's it. That's very important.
Being the musician. And the anonymity. Just for anybody just joining us now, RÓIS isn't on camera because she wears a face covering. Is that part of the keening thing? As
it kind of was, and then I just like it. I don't like to be recognized. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot to be said for just going out and doing your stuff and not be hassled. And you can still go down and get your chicken roll down the garage.
Yeah, I was thinking of
the farmers and geriatrics will leave you alone.
Yeah, that's it. Oh no, it could go anywhere down there.
Yeah, everyone knows you there.
Yeah.
We leave it there, RÓIS. Thanks very much. I'll let you get back to enjoying Brighton. I believe it's very sunny over there.
It is lovely now. The sea now, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
Will you get in the water?
I heard there was a bit of Nile spillage down in the kind of what's it called? The plant where there's nuclear thing between England and Ireland. Sellafield, that's the one. So
Sellafield.
But sure, everything's sure we're all made of Sellafield now, I'd say at this stage.
Yeah, there must be.
And silage, Sellafield and silage.
That's the title for your next album done.
That's it. Yeah.
RÓIS, thanks very much for talking to us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for all your work.
Best of luck with everything. Right. Good luck. Now we will join. Al will be joining us. Let me see if he's there. He should be there. Talking all things Jeffrey Leo. He's been a bad boy.
So Al, as a co-founder of Altada, the startup that found itself at the center of a media storm, while the real story, the role of investor Jeffrey Leo was ignored or glossed over, you've been through the collapse of a company, the pressure of public scrutiny, and the silence of our media, mainstream media, Irish mainstream media, focused on you, the founders, and not the facts. And today, as Leo faces cross-examination in the High Court, thanks in no small measure to us, MOTH, the reason it was set up in the first place to highlight this kind of thing, we're here to talk about media bias, the personal cost of selective reporting, and why this is so important and why truth matters, Al. Like this is a result for MOTH News, but a huge result for you and for your family.
Yeah. So if we take it pragmatically, as you said, Keith, this is nothing motivates somebody more than than a crisis, right? You know, never let a good crisis go to waste. So I guess the kind of the key highlights of this story since the beginning, where we've been actively and proactively looking for the truth, which is the monopoly of truth, which is you had a very onerous and malicious process initiated by a number of individuals to essentially mask a corporate raid of a company where the technology was lifted out at a reduced amount of money, significantly less than the valuation of an independent value, which was 260 million. The tech was eventually purchased for 2.4 million, right? And then you've got all of the different moving parts, which is, you know, absolutely rigorous, relentless reporting by two particular journalists, which is Charlie Taylor and Tom Lyons, which is the Business Post and the Currency, coming at it systematically. You know, release something, then somebody backs it up, then they back it up again, then it gets into all of the mainstream media, which was targeted at bringing the company down. That's it. So when I look at the lineage of the very first article that Charlie Taylor published, everything that he published in that article has formed the basis of the case of the liquidator that was appointed by the very creditor that we're now speaking about, which is Jeffrey Leo. And we had been stating here for a long time that this guy is a very corrupt figure, is a very unscrupulous business person, has a very colored history, and is, you know, strategically putting himself into processes where he's abusing the liquidation and insolvency practice in Ireland for his benefit. Okay, and we've been reporting on it actively, and now it's starting to break that it's not only malicious, it's fraud. Like literally, the guy has used his team, which we've spoken to in a lot of episodes, you know, ranging from the auditors to the liquidator to business people that would be seen as credible, that validate him, to literally just lift the figure that's been reported on now is like 60 million, right? Lift it out of a company, move it to another company, kill that company, and move everything into his own name. Right? That's it. Okay. And we have.
Can I take you back a little bit, just for anybody that doesn't sort of, like, you're talking about two journalists who basically put out what I remember you talking to you, and I didn't quite really believe you, but you were talking about like once a bit of bad PR gets out about a company, right? So maybe correct me if I'm wrong, maybe an article went out, questions over, you know, management of Altada or something. This almost causes and is one of the reasons then to bring the liquidator in, but it's all pre-designed. It's a plan. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so it's worse than that. So it's literally
worse than that.
It's worse than that. Yeah. So like once the media hits, if you're in the middle of a capital raise, you're dead.
Right? Yeah. So you're trying to raise money to bring the company to the next level.
You're trying to give investors
on the stock exchange.
Yeah. And you're bringing the company to high valuation, and you know, as soon as that becomes very noisy, people run for the hills. So like there is no situation, or there's no outcome where that journalist or those journalists would not have known that. Like it just isn't. It isn't practical that they would feel the need to go in so hard against the credibility of the directors that are running this business, which ultimately is that's what investor confidence comes down to, right? The business is the business, but ultimately they're investors putting their money into the founders. That's essentially that's how they view it, right? So as soon as the credibility of the founders is brought into is questioned, that just has a cascading effect, right? It's the wormhole, right? It just gets worse and worse and worse. So that was the start. So it was like reckless, chaotic, spending here, spending that, doing this, doing that. Whereas in reality, if you take that at its height, the business plan that was created for Altada was one that was akin with, we're growing an Irish unicorn that's very loud. The founders are high profile. It's a high profile AI company, and it's going to be exporting globally, and it's all high profile. It was like hype, PR. You know, cool place to work, company culture, hockey stick, growth. You know, we were way ahead in terms of our inventions. Like you can see where AI is now. I mean, I remember sitting in rooms describing what we were doing, and you've got people's eyes rolling in their heads saying, "What do you mean you've created a patented technology where a machine can read a document as if it's a human?" And now people are sitting here with, ChatGPT is in everybody's life. You know, AI is in everybody's life. They're using it every day. And now here we are. The concept is proven. So that's one, validation, proven right. Okay, we had a very novel technology, very valuable, right? Okay, created before the advancements in technology that are there today, right? And that was done from Ireland. I'm the inventor. I'm the creator I'm the founder of the tech, right? So that's the first thing. But if we just pick apart the individual in question, so Jeffrey Leo, if you just go through that Gantt chart, right? So he joined the company as the CFO, right? He was the OG investor in Altada. Okay, he had an equal shareholding in the company. He was 1/3 of the company. He crashed the company into examinership. Fought rigorously to try and get the company out of put the company into liquidation during that process to take the tech. Right? Okay. He was reported on as the guy that was saving the company. So from the very start, the media were getting in, backing him. Right? Okay. Company came out of examinership successfully. We thought he was gone. Obviously, he wasn't. He was just waiting for his chance to come back in again. As soon as the company got into difficulty, which was triggered by the stakeholders that were involved in the business not paying their bills, right?
Okay.
And
was that triggered by the articles that had been written? Negative press.
The fact that we were in difficulty was leaked to the press, and then the press went on a rampage.
So for you to sort of be coming out at one point, maybe it would have been seen maybe as sour grapes. Look, you tried and you failed, and this American guy obviously knows better. And what are you, just like Irish? You got too big for your boots, kind of thing.
Ahead of our skis. And one of our main shareholders at the time, who's the CEO of Elkstone, sat down with us in a meeting, and who was a board observer, said, "Do the deal with the devil. Take the deal." That's a true story. Do the deal with the devil. Right.
In our end, there's an element. I always think of the rats in the barrel. If it looks like one rat's getting out, the other rats will just pull them back in. There's a real bang of jealousy of this, and like putting people in their place, and it's very Irish begrudgery kind of thing. That's the sort of the vibe I'm getting off it.
That was actually said to us. That was actually said to us by a few people. Believe it or not, you got ahead of your skis. You're too big for your boots. Right?
Who do you think you are?
Yeah. And then if you look at it, then if you look at that trajectory, so then we're into that process, 2022, heading into a situation of receivership. In rocks up Jeffrey Leo, right, who had absolutely no reason, no involvement in the company at that stage because he was wiped out of examinership, right, was able to come in and purchase a debt during a receivership process with no hope of return, no hope of making his money back. There's no reason for him to do it. He purchased the debt to become a creditor. He purchased that debt from a director, an ex-director of the company, this guy, Peter Kearns, who he has another company with, whose email, this is an ex-director of the company. By the way, in Ireland, fiduciary law lasts 2 years, right? This guy had only just resigned that summer, sold him the debt. That wasn't a debt, actually, because it had actually been paid off. Didn't meet the threshold of putting a company into liquidation. So the threshold was increased to 50,000 euros during COVID because there was a lot of upset around companies. His debt was at max 30,000. Had no chance of ever recovering that debt, and appointed John Healy as the liquidator into the company. That then absolutely tore the company apart and tore us apart. Went on a witch hunt with the media. Every report he prepared was leaked to the media first, without us getting any opportunity to respond. None of the media reported on the actual issues within the company, where our biggest shareholder had not paid close to 5 million in its loans and had blocked close to 7 term sheets for investment. We even had secured investment, even despite all of that nonsense, right? And the media just kept coming. One in particular, Charlie Taylor, and the other one, Tom Lyons, kept coming. And here's Jeffrey Leo sitting there being reported as the savior, right? The patriot of Ireland, just where he was fucking St. Patrick's fucking long lost brother, right? You know,
we love sainting foreigners, don't we?
Yeah. So we saying to this guy, and here we are now. It's everything we were saying is true. It's been categorically proven now, and now he's going to be cross-examined, which is very unusual in court under oath by one of the most experienced insolvency practitioners in Ireland, Kieran Wallace, right? And here it's unfolding that this is one of the most corrupt cases they've seen. This is by the judge, by the way.
Yeah,
right?
That everything you said to journalists, tried to communicate, was true, has been proven, will be proven. It's fairly obvious now at this stage. So, just to go back as well, so like the Sunday Business Post, Charlie Taylor included, published photos of you, details about your children's school. They even ran headlines.
My wife ran headlines that were not related to us and tagged our photo to it.
Your pictures. I mean, I've seen the articles. Some great pictures, actually. In fairness to you, pictures of you and your wife. And never have they ever used an image of Jeffrey Leo, the investor who's now at the center of this fraud allegation. I mean, I don't think. It's very hard to find a picture of the man.
I don't think he's even reported on it. Tom Lyons only just reported on it recently, and he only reported on it because it was alarmingly obvious that they were muted on it. Like it was blatant that they had not been covering it. And this is the people that would, you know, when we had appealed to their better nature and say, look, guys, this is disproportionate. You know, and they're like, no, this is for the public interest. This is a story. But at the same token, Jeffrey Leo comes in to save the day. He took down these bad business people. And here's where it gets really interesting now, Keith. So the money he used to do that is the money he defrauded from this other case, right? Which is the winnings. It's not his own money, right?
Yeah, so the winnings, the American family that he went in and said, give us some money. And we've spoken about these guys before. Yeah.
So he used that money to put in the liquidator. He funded it through the funds he defrauded. And the iPass Centre, which is now in dispute, right?
Dundrum, yeah.
He put in the same liquidator that he put into the weddings case, which is John Healy. John Healy was removed from that liquidation. Nobody's reported on it, right? Same liquidator. Nobody's tied it together to say this guy wasn't even the creditor of the company. Not only that, our last creditors meeting, which was a total ridiculous shit show, John Healy scheduled a creditor up there because he'd found, you know, some new information, heavily reported on. The journalists attended the creditors meeting.
That was Charlie Taylor?
Charlie Taylor and Tom Lyons. Attended.
No reason they shouldn't have been there. There's no reason.
Why would they be there?
Yeah.
But even if you took it out of sight, they're prejudicing against the other creditors. What if something was discussed that impacted a creditor at the meeting? They didn't give a disclaimer and advise that there was journalists attending the creditors meeting. Right? And here we are. This guy's been in court a number of times. He's going to be cross-examined, and the coverage, in fairness, is dismal at best.
So, like the mainstream media are finally reporting on this because, you know, like everything else, they're going, well, we better report on this because, like, otherwise we're going to look like.
Well, selectively, Keith, right? Selectively.
Yeah, selectively. Like, okay. So say for instance, so Charlie Taylor is he reporting on it all? I know the Sunday Business Post have reported on a little bit. But they haven't, like, say, for instance, with the currency, so Tom Lyons finally reporting on this thing, but no mention of Altada, no context, no acknowledgement of the damage done to you and your family and your team, nothing like that. So they're just literally reporting on maybe just what they have, so they can say they did.
Well, when I asked Charlie Taylor directly, why is he on Jeffrey Leo's payroll? Why is he continually reporting on this where it's completely like he's not being an objective journalist, he's completely biased? I was given the two proverbial figures. They don't even contact us for comment anymore, which I'm resolving shortly. We're going to be bringing in somebody to take over this process, and I will be knocking on Charlie Taylor's door very quickly, right? Not literally, obviously, right? We do have a source's permission to show a dialogue with Charlie where he's arguing that if there was a case there, he'd report on it. So you can show them, Keith. We do have permission, and I have a number of sources that have told me that they have approached quite a number of people in the mainstream media in terms of their blatant bias towards not reporting on this guy and reporting on us.
Yeah, so let's just look at this. This is a LinkedIn conversation, and the person who had this, it was a private LinkedIn conversation, direct messages, has allowed us to use this. So he says at the top, you see, by the way, great reporting on the tech sector. Just stay a mile away from Jeff Leo. This is what was said to Charlie Taylor. Now go and report on your buddy, Jeffrey Leo. So he's sending him the links. So you've got the liquidator ones, disbarred broker to be examined. Then Kieran Wallace alleges flagrant lack of cooperation. So these articles are being sent to Charlie. And now he's saying, well, you can't miss it now, Charlie. You enabled this, be starred. You are the problem. To which Charlie Taylor replied, I think this is, let me get the right one. He said, arguably, it is you who are the enabler. Remember, we came to you and asked for assistance on this, and you told us to get lost. We've reported on this at the earliest opportunity. We could have done it earlier if you'd helped. Your response at the time was, we all read Gripped, which you can see here. He did respond to him back at the time when he said, we can all read Gripped. Jeffrey Leo's background has been covered in depth by multiple publications. I covered the story as it relates to Altada because that is what I'm employed to do. And this gentleman replied, I don't read or engage with any right-wing media, therefore I don't follow Gripped. I don't do conspiracy theories. Vote whatever, Green or Independent. I vote Sinn or Green or Independent. My concern is Dundrum House and this destruction by Jeff Leo. So this guy, Charlie Taylor, I mean, what's your reading of this interaction?
Yeah, there's loads of other messages where he says, say hi to Alan. Oh, that's all right. So he's poking him to say...
Charlie Taylor says, say hi to Alan.
Yeah. Yeah. So implying that...
so that's personal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that alone is saying this is a journalist who's making something not about reporting, but it's a personal thing. And that's a bit, it's cuntish, isn't it? Sorry to use that language.
Yeah, but he's got in ridiculously, like he I think it's high double digit articles. Like at one stage he was publishing Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. We'd be in the paper on Sunday. We'd be in the Connected Mag. He put on his LinkedIn. He had a couple of guys that he would tee up the evening before, which we know were these whatever the word from spam is the only word I use. No, they're people. I just won't get into them. They're grotesque, right? So they'll just spam the crap then out of everybody. And two guys in particular, I won't mention them today because we are launching a legal case against them because we've shared some of their posts with our legal team and they've identified at least 3 areas where we have a legal standing to pursue them personally. So just three guys in particular. Yeah.
So, for instance, Charlie could be. I'm publishing this tomorrow. Can you blast it out there? These are like friends of his friend, and they just blast it out using whatever.
Yeah, and they'd be pretty aggressive. Yeah, they'd be very aggressive. One guy in particular. One guy in particular would have even said some very derogatory stuff directly about Niamh and I, right? In terms of like really personal stuff.
Personal stuff.
Yeah. Like going in very hard. They pulled their children into it as well. So then if you drill into that, let's put this in proportion, right? And in perspective. This is a tech company that failed. That was a startup, right? Like, this in reality, right? Like I'd love to say I'm wonderfully famous in from a global standing perspective, and that I'm a public figure, and this merited the ongoing reporting. But we are genuinely just a co-founder, husband-wife team that were trying to do a technology company from Ireland, right? And this is there's definitely an element towards targeting a female founder as well. And this is not only me. I'm paraphrasing our legal team, where they've evidently can see this was as much targeting a husband-wife team and a female founder.
Well, Neve at one point was being lauded, and she won an award for
female entrepreneur. We were entrepreneur of the year. We were large company of the year, smallest, fastest company growing. We got into the top 10 machine learning companies globally. We're in the Silicon Review, Silicon Valley. We're in the CIO. Like, you don't become just shit overnight. Like, you know, like, this is the point. Like, we literally became shit overnight because journalists decided to say we were shit. That's it. You know? And like, nobody asked the question, oh, how did you go from like being one of the best companies? And remember now as well, right? Everybody's ignoring the fact of when you go into these processes, you go into rigorous diligence. Rigorous. Like, you've got a team of judges, auditors, corporate finance, very qualified corporate finance people going through your books and records, speaking to your clients, speaking to your team, interviewing the founders to get even to get to being shortlisted. We fucking won it.
But
right?
That's more rigorous than the fucking financial sector systems in Ireland.
Exactly. And people then even just dismiss the fact that, you know, we raise money. Like just to give you the statistics, like, we grew a company and we were in the process of closing a fundraise at $1 billion valuation, and they can say what they fucking like, Keith. That's a reality. And it's left less than 1% of companies get to that level. That's the level we got to, right? We had an independent valuation the year that before that, just months before that, of 260 million at that time, before we got the money in, right? Like, show me fucking companies that get to that level, right? And have a team of very sophisticated professionals. Like, our team were very qualified. Like, you know, there's a few people that I know at the end, they let themselves down the way they behaved. And, you know, this is another grey area that I can't talk about now, because we will be launching legal cases against some of our ex-employees as well, because we do have evidence that they were, you know, involved in this at the very start.
In some way, yeah.
No, they're involved, yeah. But the reality is, we had high-paying roles, very sophisticated people, and we were fucking high-profile, and that's it. And this is kind of one of the conversations we had where we, you know, when we wrote to the ombudsman, ignored. We wrote to the editors, ignored. One of our legal representatives, we don't work with anymore for various reasons, kind of said to us, don't worry about it, it's because you're famous. I was like, what you mean I'm famous? I'm not famous. I'm not like an A-list actor. I'm a fucking technologist. I'm an inventor of a technology company. I'm not famous. What are you talking, you know? But just drill down into... Okay.
But do you think that... I mean, do you think it's systematic whereby if somebody gets ahead of their station and they're not... It's like, say, for instance, you were on the verge of becoming... Say, for instance, you could have become, let's just say, Elon Musk, right? The Irish Elon Musk, right? Let's just... Whatever. For I don't have a better example. I'm not comparing you to or whatever. I'm just saying for something that people might understand, or your man from Facebook or whatever, Meta. But these guys are, what's your man's name from Apple? But the face of a technology company, because it's become a thing where if you're the head of Apple, if you're the head of Tesla, you know, if you come up with this technology, people want to ask you questions. You become, by virtue of the role of the job of the, you know, the futuristic type of business you're in, people want to talk to you. Journalists want to talk to you. I understand you weren't going out there to be a celebrity, but that's how that industry, it is a sort of a kind of a cool industry that people want to know about, and they want to talk to the people who are in charge, and they want to talk to the founders and the inventors and these people, right? And you become a celebrity whether you like it or not. It's part of it's a deal with the devil almost. Do you think that Ireland would destroy somebody if they thought that they could possibly have that power? Or do you think it was just Jeff Leo kind of being a bit of an idiot ultimately because he kind of took on the wrong person, although he did something short term that was, but long term he's taking on the wrong person.
No, all this noise is all cloaking a more sinister plan, which is Leo was paid to strip the tech out. That's it. And the whole process that ensued, the sole purpose of all of those processes was to take the tech out.
Do you think that came from the company who wanted the tech, or so
they
nothing?
No, they got it.
Yeah. So that was his job to go get that tech.
That was his job, and he just found the biggest bastard on the planet who would do it, has no morals, no ethics. He won't stop. You know, he's a malicious guy, right? And evidently, as you can see what's happening here, like he'll screw people over all day long. It's you know, before he has his breakfast in the morning and before you have your cup of coffee, he's probably screwed over 3 other people already. Like,
so then maybe then the celebrity thing meant that journalists fucking were happy to see you go down. And
correct. Yeah, totally, yeah. And then you've got a very ambitious liquidator who's another very vicious individual who has a history of, you know, saying very bad things about directors straight away. And look, that brings on to the next point. So if we go to the highlights, Charlie Taylor, Tom Lyons noticeably have just literally, you know, a scathing, vindictive, malicious intent towards us. And like, you know, we have messages that are going to come out on another stage where Tom Lyons, you know, sent some really nasty, grotesque messages directly to us, right? Like really nasty stuff, as did Charlie Taylor during the process, right? Okay. So that's proven. That's categorical, and I can stand over that. And we will be evidencing that at one stage, right? At some stage. You've got an evidence where there is no rollback from it. They're just continue on, even though this guy now is evidently and categorically being shown now as a really mischievous trickster, dirty business guy, fraudulent guy. You know, he's heading into deep shit, right? I can't quote our source, but one person very close to the case said they have not come across a more corrupt individual, and they're very experienced in this. They've all
we've seen corrupt people.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's some fucking doing, right? And then not only that, they're saying that they're categorically saying that the whole conduct and practice of the journalism coverage, the way in which the liquidators treated us from the start, the receivership process, the whole process it just stinks procedurally, right? And then on the back of that, now we're receiving apparently or allegedly the revenue of RÓIS, the new tender document for liquidators to join our panel. And one of the clauses within that is that the liquidator must have experience of bringing restriction procedures against directors and would have done so in the last 12 months. So this highlights 2 things. Firstly, this effectively means that the revenue are imposing a quota, albeit informally, for liquidators, that they've brought restrictions, which takes out the concept of taking each case to its merits no longer applies, where like essentially a liquidator or an insolvency practitioner should be neutral, objective, or independent, because many times they go before a court and the High Court judge will say, yeah, okay, that's a revenue panel liquidator, yeah, I'll approve that said liquidator as a representative of the court. So now that brings in a completely different dynamic. And I have a PhD of life in insolvency practices. I've gone through every insolvency practice in Ireland, right, as a founder, believe it or not. And I can tell you categorically, when you're sitting in those discussions, the conversation that's going to be relayed to you is, if the revenue are involved in this, the judge will be settlement. That will be I guess, what's the word? A bias.
Selected. Primed.
I'm trying to use the word that doesn't get me in trouble. Friendly towards that said process, or even more compassionate, or you know, they'll definitely get more court, right, and they'll definitely be taken more serious, right. Secondly, only a few liquidators would actually have done this, which rules out most of the guys that would say, we don't start the liquidation by going after the directors. We do our job, which is we want to see how much we can get back for the creditors, and we want to document why the company failed. They're not going in on a fucking lynch mob on a mission to restrict directors. Now, take that at tight. Let's wrap that up in a bow and say, okay, that's a process. Now shift gears. What message are we sending to people in Ireland? You set up a company, you fail, which is demonstrative to you on a personal level, demonstrative, like it kicks the nuts off you, right? Okay? It kicks the nuts off you. And then not only are you losing your company and losing your income, you have to go and try and find a role. Now they're telling you they're going to wipe you off the planet forever. They want to fucking end your career in Ireland. Why? Why exactly is this an incentive for somebody to start a company?
Well, but I mean, you can see it from. I mean, there's many examples of like, you know, companies when they get to a certain, like we've spoken about. There's stuff we can't probably talk about, but you know, certain high street maybe takeaways that are Irish, you know, started up in Ireland, and then they get to a certain point, and then they've got like 10 outlets or 12 outlets, and they're going to like maybe look at floating on the market or something. You know, they're just about to hit something, and then suddenly someone comes in and goes, "Oh, we don't know if this is working. We're going to have to take this over. And actually, if you don't take this deal, we're going to take you down anyway." And that kind of has happened a few times.
Yeah, and then no accountability then for any of the other people that are involved in destroying the business, right? No accountability for the liquidator. Like, I mean, if somebody steps back and says, "Okay, procedurally, has this liquidator followed the process?" Oh, look over here, they're being funded by a very disgruntled creditor. It's like, I mean, it's, and then we've got a like journalists asleep at the wheel that, you know, call them advertorials. They take sponsorship, you know, and they don't hide it anymore.
Yeah.
The business post and the currency take payment and advertisements from companies.
You pay for PR or whatever. You pay for.
They don't hide it. Don't hide it. And the problem here is, you know, I don't know, is it an ego thing? Is it, even when they're caught, they don't want to admit it? But the reality is, if they were to have any fucking credibility at all left in them, and this is all of the people that are involved in this process, they'd step back and say, "Okay, we've done it wrong here. We've got it wrong. We backed the wrong horse." Like you know, I don't know, have these guys even got advisors where somebody's looking at the situation saying, "Jesus Christ, like, talking about backing the wrong horse here. Like, you're fucking after supporting a guy that is literally, there's going to be case law created about this guy. Like, this is case law, literally. Like, there's going to be carnage."
Well, systems are going to change based on this. Like, everything's going to like, and heads are going to roll, and you know, there's more. I presume there's more to this, as they say in Ireland. You know.
And then look, Keith, you're as we discussed earlier when we were kind of war counselling where we're heading with MOTH from a strategic perspective. You know, as you're getting deeper and deeper into, you know, the facets of Ireland, what's happening with IPAS, the ICAS, you know, centres, care centres, you can see like there's a big fat failure tag hanging off these processes in Ireland at the moment, which gets into the very facet of our country, right? It's ingrained into, you know, the citizens of Ireland deserve fucking better than this crap, right? And that's it. And our media have lost their fucking nuts. Like, they've lost their fucking courage to stand up against, you know, what's going on. And I think that's a massive issue, right? If you go back to, you know, the previous years, and I'm not going to use a milestone date as when these guys, you know, end up just being, you know, the patsies for the elite. But like, there was a time when the journalists actually fucking reported on stuff, right?
Oh, you this. I mean, not to be like racist, but you can imagine a Yank coming in and being like, "Oh, fucking Johnny Big Balls," and, you know, throwing money around. If that back in the day, like, I mean, people like Johnny Ronan, or like, people just did not get away with being the Johnny Big Balls, and like, you'd get to a certain point and you could be a celebrity, you know, finance guy, or celebrity, you know, property guy or whatever, you know, bringing, you know, Irish models to music festivals and helicopters and all, you know, and it'll be lapped up a little bit, but to be journalists waiting to take the
be called out.
And you can only pay off a certain amount of journalists, and do you know what I mean? There was you'd be called out. He wouldn't get away with it.
And look, there's a fundamental part here. We're essentially entrusting our country to people that are covering up or somewhat supporting corruption. Like, that's the reality. And look, you know, evil can only exist when good people do nothing.
Yeah, and also we're at the it's homegrown, indigenous or whatever, like Irish inventors, people that we have been encouraging by promoting the STEM subjects, we've the brightest minds. Come over here, Meta. Come over here, Google. Come over here, you guys. We've got the best. We've got programmers. We've got people who understand computers. We grew up with computers. These are, the best, the brightest minds. But if they start to just create their own Meta or Google or whatever, why are we taking them down?
Where does it leave us? Yeah. Okay, my man.
I know you've
just realized it, not my mic on. Thank you very much, Al. I've just been sitting here miming. We've run over. Time-wise, we've run over. Just want to say thanks to Al, thanks to Roche who came in, and thanks to Majella from Care Champions. If you want to watch that full interview, that's available on our YouTube channel now, or I'll probably play it back on this channel as well and share it on all our platforms. So yeah, we'll be back next Friday from 3 o'clock as always, but keep an eye on the platform because we could be just popping up. I think I'm going to do something on, I have an interview on Monday as well, which will go live. The plan is with MOTH to be live every day if we can and bring you the news that's sort of between the lines so you don't have to read between the lines. It's the mainstream media might prefer to leave out. Anyway, have a great Friday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hopefully it's sunny where you are. And yeah, thanks for watching. And if you have a story that you'd like us to get out there, or you want to come on here and chat to me and get it out there, do get in touch. Okay? Send us a message and we'll do what we can. Good luck. We're out of here. Take it easy. Goodbye.